And you want to start off with, hey, I'm going to have, maybe we'll skip one and see if we can do it with 1 cup. So if I have 2 cups, I would have 6 tablespoons. Well, what about if I only went with 1 cup? How many would I have? Maybe 3? Because it, like here, this would be 1. All right. Now let's see, let's do a whole batch here and let's go with you filling out 4, maybe go with 6, 8, and let's say 10. So pause the video and see if you can fill that out. Okay. You should have taken a little bit of time and filled that out. And so if this is considered 1 batch, this would be considered a half a batch. But if we did 1 batch, this is 1 batch, then what about if we doubled it? This would be 2 batches. And so if we did 2 batches, we're timesing this by 2. So don't we need to times this by 2? And we would make that 12. If we look here, this would be 3 batches. So this was a half a batch. But this is 3 batches. So if you look in here, we could also kind of do it like this and say, okay, what's this? We times it by 3. So we times it by 3, 18. And then this was 4 batches. So we times it by 4. So then 4 times 8. Or well, we have to multiply 6 times 4 and get 24. And then this was 5 batches, so we times it by 5. So we times this by 5 and get 30. And that's our double number line for Elena. All right, let's keep going. Then question number 2, well, we're comparing it to mine, so we can move on. Number 3. How many cups of white paint should Elena mix with 12 tablespoons of blue paint? How many batches would she make? Well, we only went out to 10, right? Here, and that was 30. This was our white paint, and this was our blue paint. And we said this was 5 batches. Because again, remember, 1 batch was 2 to 6. This was 1 batch. So what we're asking is, how many batches of white paint, how many cups of white paint should Elena use with 12 teaspoons of blue paint? So let's look. And if I'm going to put this real quickly. 4, 12, 6, 18. Oh, I kind of mixed up. Okay, that's fine. So let's look. How many 12 teaspoons of blue paint? So we go to 12 teaspoons of blue paint. That's right here. And how much white? Well, we can just go right here. That would be 4 cups. And we said that, hey, if this was 1 batch, if you times it by 2, this would be 2 batches. So this is 2 batches, and we write that down. Then we look here. How many tablespoons of blue paint should Elena mix with 6 cups of white paint? Well, here's our 6 cups of white paint. And how many teaspoons? We go down here, 8 teaspoons, right? 8, no, tablespoons. I'm sorry, tablespoons. All right. And then the other, how many batches? Well, we times it by 3, so that would be 3 batches. 3 batches. So you should make sure that you have that written down on page 47. All right, I think, well, we have to move on to page 48 to make sure that we get our last couple of questions. And I'm going to just keep looking at our original one right there. Use your double number line to find another amount of white paint and blue paint that would make the same shade of light blue. Well, we dealt with 1 batch, 2 batches, and 3 batches, but what about 4 batches? So that would mean if we did 4 batches, that would mean that, hey, our original 1 batch, just so we kind of see this, was 2 to 6, but then we times it by 4, and we got 8 to 24. So 8 cups of white to 24 tablespoons of blue. And how do you know that these mixtures would make the same shades of light blue paint? Anybody have an idea? Because they're all equivalent. As we're multiplying, they're all equal. We are multiplying by the same number, the numerator and the denominator. Every time we're multiplying by the same number. Okay, so that's going to be on page 48 that you're writing. Okay, so this is in your notebook. So if you'll take a moment, pause the video, and see if you can write this in your notebook. When you're done, unpause it and let's check. All right, so it's ratio 12 to 1. And when I times it by 2, because I'm going to get a 2 here, I would times, if this is 2, then I would times it by 2. So I'd multiply 12 times 2. So this is going to be 24. I multiplied it by 3 and I got 36. So if I'm going to multiply it by 4, I'm going to get 48. 5 is 60. 6 is 72. 7 is 84. 8 is 96. 9 is 108. And then 120. So that's how we would fill in that number, double number line. Here we have a ratio of 60 miles over hours. So in 1. And so if we wanted to do 3 hours, we'd times it by 3, times it by 3, and we'd get 180. Here we could go 4, times it by 4, we would get 240. By 5, we would get 300. By 6, we would get 360. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Take a moment and look at this number line. This is water, and this is flour. So how could we fill this out? This is, we have 0 cups, we have 0 flour. If we have 2, we'd have 3. So here it looks like we multiplied by 2. So we would have to multiply by 2 here and get 4. Here it looks like, hey, I had 2 to 3 and I want to make this 6. So I multiplied by 3. So I got to multiply by 3 and that's going to be 9. And then here I multiplied 3 by 4 to get 12. So I'd multiply 2 by 4 and get 8 there. And it's wanting to ask how much water and flour for 3 batches of paper mache. So this is 1 batch. This is 2 batches. So this would be 3 batches. So we would need 6 cups of H2O and 9 cups of flour. And you can do this either by filling out the number line or you can do equivalent ratio. All right, but there is another way. If double number lines is kind of confusing, we can do a table, and we've had this in warm-up. So if you kind of see that, hey, we have 2 different things that we're describing. This is the price And then we have like the number of mangoes. This is what this one is describing. So let's look here. We want to figure out what this X is. And we've talked about this in class. So take a moment. You want to first write what we're comparing. We're comparing green to red. You want to pick one ratio that you know. So you can pick any of them. I'm going to pick this 2:6. And you want to set it up as 10 over X. Figure out what X is. So I would have multiplied by 5, and X equals 30. All right, let's see if you can do this. See if you can fill in these missing numbers. Take a moment. All right, and if you need to pause still and wait, and then you can come back. Now, we can do taxis over buses and do 6 to 5 is equal to X to 15 and say times 3 times 3, and that would give us 18. So we multiplied by 3 here and multiplied by 3 here. But another way we can do it is, oh, okay, well, what did I multiply by 6 to get 36? Well, I times it by 6. So I would do times 6 here, and that would give me 30. Here, what did I multiply? I multiplied by 2. So I'd multiply by 2 here, and I would get 6. All right, well, what did I multiply here by? I multiplied 3 by 3 and got 9. So 5 by 3 is 15. All right, stop there.